Hey, what is up guys? So I want to discuss this new card with you guys today. It is Writing Together. It is a new quick play spell card that's coming out in Legacy of the Valiant, which is the next set. And it says each time your opponent adds a card or cards from their deck or graveyard to their hand this turn, except by drawing, immediately draw one card. You can only activate one Writing Together per turn. So that card is pretty good. It has the same aspect or idea of Max C of your opponent trying to get some type of huge advantage or make some huge play, and you're going to be like, okay, you know what? If you don't OTK me, I'm going to have a significant amount of advantage the next turn, and I might be able to OTK you or disrupt your play or get rid of your field. So I think that is a pretty darn good card. Now we already have a card that's kind of similar in the aspect that it kind of stuns your opponent, which just came out in the last set, Mistakes. So this one is a continuous trap card that says neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them. So essentially they're doing the same thing, except for one is allowing your opponent to do something and you're going to be getting some advantage, whereas Mistake, you're going to stop them right then and there. The only problem I have with Mistake though is it is a continuous trap card, so that means it's susceptible to something like Spellbook of Fate, and that card obviously is something to get rid of it, and then they can just go off from there. Spellbooks isn't necessarily a deck that OTKs anyways, but this is a fantastic card because this will stop them right in their tracks. Otherwise, they're going to be looking down multiple cards that the opponent has and a significant disadvantage, even though they technically do have the tower, which gets them additional +1 every turn. So the aspect of Writing Together in its quick play form is kind of good, simply because it can't get wrecked by stuff like Royal Decree or Traps, in which some decks are technically playing. So that's just good that it is a quick play spell, because you can even activate it on your turn. I mean, maybe you hit a face down card that searches for something, like for example Sangan, even though Sangan's bad, but there are other cards that search out for other cards, and I think that is a good aspect. Some decks really don't have that much searching power. One thing I do want to mention, it's almost similar to the idea of Maxi. I mean, this card and this card against Dragons, they're almost the same thing. I mean, basically, I'd say Maxi is still better because you'll be able to draw probably much more cards with Maxi. However, against a deck like Dragons, even if you drop, let's say you drop Writing Together and Maxi, I mean, look at the amount of draw power you can technically get every time they special summon, they add. You can, get two, probably, I would say, maybe like 2 cards you'd be able to add, because they banish the dragons, and you'll be able to add like 2 cards. Maybe if they go for the 7 swords, you might be able to draw 3, but like realistically you're going to activate it pretty much as soon as they go for it. I mean, you could technically wait, but you're going to be drawing maybe, I would say maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 cards with this. With Maxi, I mean, if you guys have played Dragons, sometimes you can draw 7, 8 cards with. I mean, maybe if you comboed both, then you're looking at maybe possibly decking out if your opponent can go crazy and keep on, special summoning. That is a way that, you can lose in the game when you can't draw any cards. There was a combo, it's called the Colossal OTK, and you basically get rid of your opponent's entire deck by decking them out by crashing your own Colossal Fighter. I'll actually put a link down below in the description box, because I know someone's going to ask for that, so check the description box below as far as the whole Colossal Fighter. And basically what happens is, if your opponent uses Maxi, you just deck them out. That's the goal with it. And if you activate Writing Together plus Maxi, that'll be much easier for them to actually pull it off. But the way I look at it is, I know I've mentioned Lightsworn several times, guys, and that's because that deck is going to be really popular. Like I said, in the OCG, a lot of players are, playtesting the deck, and from what I hear, it's actually pretty good. I've already played it myself, and the thing with a Lightsworn is, as long as there's no Ophion on board, I mean, that's really the only card that really shuts them down to the point where they can't play. But they do have Raikou, and they do have, sometimes they can protect a Lightsworn with a Necro Guardian, and then Tribute for Celestia, and then, basically at that point, once you get rid of, the Ophion and, maybe a back row too, you could just drop the Judgment Dragon, and, they don't really have an easy answer to Judgment Dragon, other than maybe possibly stealing it. So the way I look at it is, this card, it's pretty good. Actually, if you guys know Jeff Jones, he's a really good Yu-Gi-Oh player, the guy that made the quick draw plants. I love that deck, and the guy, he mentioned that this card, he says it's main deck worthy, but I'd honestly like to have a discussion with you guys. Do you think that this is main deck worthy? For me, it really depends on what deck you're also playing, because certain decks can really utilize a card like Maxi much more than they can use Writing Together. I mean, you could definitely play both if you wanted to, but hey, if you match up against a deck, say like Lightsworn, there's very limited things that you can chain Maxi to. It's like maybe Lumina, because you cannot chain to an inherent special summon, like say something like Judgment Dragon, where it just special summons itself from the hand. There's nothing you can chain to. So, it all depends on your matchups, what you'd like to play against, also what deck you're playing, because Like I said, Maxi technically has more utility. I know that there's the pot of dichotomy, because we have Avarice Band. Maybe if you're playing some Grand Soul, maybe you're playing Redox, it has that ability to be a, Earth monster in the graveyard. Also, if you're playing Closed Forest, extra monsters in the graveyard are always good. So, let me know what you guys think as far as Writing Together goes. Would you main deck this card? That's really what I'm trying to get at right now, because it's a common in OCG, but we all know it's probably going to be secret rare. I mean, come on, Mistake is pretty much the same card, well, it's got the same idea of it. It's basically to stop your opponent from doing stuff. I think Mistake, this, it obviously hurts you. That's one thing that I like about Writing Together over Mistake, because Mistake, it's neither player, whereas this, it's just, your opponent. So that's one aspect you can look at. I think this card, in some sense, triumphs over Mistake, but the thing is, if you activate something like Mistake against spellbooks, what do? Like, they can't really... At that point, you've basically summoned Thunder King, and you're like, nope, you can't do anything. And they need spellbooks to get in the graveyard. They need their searches, so you can stun them completely, and they can't even play. I mean, some don't even play MST. They rely on the Fate to get rid of stuff, and if there's nothing in the graveyard because they can't activate anything, because Mistake is on board, you've basically won the game. With the Writing Together, they still got off their plays, and I would say, they're probably just going to search one card. They'll activate it, then you chain it because it is a quick play. They search their one card, and they're going to go, okay, end turn. And Spellbooks is a deck where you can OTK them because they don't, they don't really play Gores or anything like that. And they don't really play anything like Swift Scarecrow. They do sometimes play Baylor, but yeah, like I said, Writing Together, they're just pretty much just going to be stuck for one turn. Kind of like the same thing that Maxi does do against Dragons. If you drop it, sometimes they'll just be like, okay, like sometimes, I do want to mention this real quick. If they go ahead and special summon Redox in defense, they're going to activate Redox's effect to special summon itself. Please don't drop Maxi, because at that point they're going to end their turn. If they special summon, like, it all depends also what you have on the field. Like, I can't really make the judgment for everything, but most of the time when they're going for like a Redox first, they're just going to leave the Redox there. If sometimes they go for another color, depending on what it is and depending on what you have on the field. Because if you have like something like a Crimson Blader on board, and I don't know, for whatever reason you didn't kill anything, and then they make say something like I don't know, they're going to activate Blaster's effect, you might as well go through with it right now, because they're probably just going to get rid of the monster, and they might just go for an OTK, because they have to get rid of that card anyways. Also, depending on what your back row is, maybe you have a Forbidden Lance or Protector Crimson Blader, hey, drop Maxi immediately, because they're going to be in a position where it doesn't matter how many cards that you really have, because if you can Crimson Blader them successfully, they can't really do anything in the next turn. But, like I said, guys, I don't know if I would main deck this myself, and it also depends on what deck I'm playing. I'm actually interested in playing, depending on how Mermails go, because I like the versatility that deck has. I want to try some pot of dichotomies, but we'll see how this goes. And it's, like I said, it's going to be like secret rare. I swear, Konami, please just let this card be like a common. It's like an anti-meta card, but it's, I also want to say, it's actually pretty good against Boojins in one aspect, because Boojins, they have the Boojin Carnation of special summon, so at least with Max you can draw 2 cards. With this, I do want to mention that it only really lets you like get 1 card out of it, so I'm not sure if it's like the best card against Boojins, but I figured it was good to actually mention about Boojins. I don't think there's a way where they can search like multiple times per turn to where you can go like plus 4s and 5s, and like I said, I think we'll have to see what the meta actually comes down to, because we have Gravekeepers coming out. That deck can do a little bit of searching, but I still think that this card is much better, but we'll have to see once it comes out. But like I said, let me know if you guys are main decking this card, or you're like, nah, I don't even need that card. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Asian Eyes out.